Welcome back, everybody, to ABA Chapter Chat.
Yeah.
We've got a really interesting deep dive for you guys this week.
Yeah.
All about performance management, or PM, as we'll call it for short.
Right.
I know when you hear management, you're probably thinking, "Whew, sounds kind of corporate, right?"
Little bit, yeah.
But stick with us on this one.
Yeah?
Because this stuff is seriously valuable for anyone working in ABA.
It really is.
And we're going to get into all the reasons why in just a sec.
Absolutely. And, the connection between performance management and ABA might not be super obvious at first glance.
Right.
But when you dig a little deeper, it's actually a pretty strong connection.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, think about it this way. ABA is all about understanding behavior and improving behavior right.
Right.
So performance management basically takes those same principles, the same principles of ABA, and applies them to the workplace, to the work environment.
So it's like we're taking all of our ABA superpowers and we're not just using them to help our clients. Yes. We're using them to improve our own work lives, too.
You got it. And that's what makes this so cool, right? We can level up everybody's lives, including our own.
I love that. And I love that PM, like you said, it's not just some new trendy thing.
Yeah.
It's been around for a while, and there's actually a ton of research that backs it up.
Oh, yeah. Tons.
So we're talking evidence-based practices here.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's break it down then for our listeners who might be new to this.
Sure.
What exactly is performance management when we say that?
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, so at its heart, performance management is all about creating this work environment that helps people do their best work.
Right.
But at the same time, it's about making sure that the organization is also successful.
Okay, so it's not just about making the employees happy.
No.
It's about making sure the whole organization is functioning well.
Right. It's about finding that balance between, individual needs and organizational goals.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, there's a really great quote from one of our sources that I think sums this up perfectly.
Oh, lay it on us.
It says, "The fundamental goal of performance management is to bring out the best in people while generating the highest value for the organization."
Well, I love that.
Yeah.
It's not about, squeezing people dry.
Right.
It's about creating a situation where everybody benefits.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Yeah. And, you mentioned earlier that there's research behind this and it's effective.
Yeah.
So what kind of impact are we talking about here?
So there's a study I came across that found that companies that implemented performance management systems, they saw an average 69% improvement in performance.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, it's massive. And it's not just numbers, There are a ton of examples of performance management leading to things like increased employee satisfaction.
Oh, wow.
Lower turnover rates and even fewer accidents in the workplace.
Those are definitely some benefits I think we could all get behind.
Yeah.
But, our listeners are ABA professionals.
Right.
A lot of them work directly with clients.
Sure.
So how does all of this performance management stuff, how relevant is it to their day-to-day work?
That's a really great question.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's something that we're going to dive into a lot deeper as we go along today.
Okay.
But the short answer is it's super relevant.
Really?
Yeah. Think about it.
Okay.
We use ABA principles to help our clients learn new skills,
Right.
manage challenging behaviors all the time.
Every day. Yeah.
We can use these same performance management principles to improve our own work performance.
Okay.
To make our teams work better together, and even to improve the whole culture of our workplace.
So you're basically taking all of our ABA knowledge and skills.
Exactly.
And we're applying them to a whole new area of our lives.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most exciting things about this,
Yeah.
is that, a lot of the skills that we've already developed as ABA professionals translate so well to performance management, like goal setting, data collection, reinforcement.
Right.
These are all core parts of both ABA and PM.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've officially sold me on the importance of this.
Good.
I'm ready to bring performance management into my work life.
Awesome.
But how do we actually do it?
That's the question, right? Where do you even start with all of this?
Yeah.
So I think a really good starting point is to understand the 7 key reasons why PM is so valuable.
7 reasons.
Oh.
Okay, lay it on me.
Okay, so reason number 1, PM, is practical, and it actually works.
Okay, I like that already.
Right. We're not talking about airy-fairy concepts here.
Right.
We're talking about specific techniques that have been proven to be effective in lots of organizations and all kinds of jobs.
Okay, so what kind of proof are we talking about here?
Well, one of the sources that we read for this episode,
Yeah.
it mentioned this manufacturing company
Okay.
that put in a PM system, and they saw a 60-to-1 return on their investment in the first year alone.
Whoa.
I know, right?
60 to 1.
They focused on things like clearly defining people's job roles, providing regular feedback to their employees, and linking rewards to specific performance goals.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and the results were amazing.
Wow.
Productivity went way up, and employee morale went through the roof.
That's a perfect example of how PM can really benefit a business.
It is.
But like you said before, it's not just about the bottom line.
Right. It's about so much more than that.
Okay, so reason number 1, practical. It works.
Yes.
I'm sold. What's reason number 2?
Okay, so reason number 2 is that PM delivers both short-term and long-term results.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, so it's not just about those quick fixes, you know? It's about building sustainable systems that keep things running smoothly for years and years.
Okay, so give me an example of that. Like, how do we see that long-term success play out?
So one of our sources talked about this healthcare organization that's been using PM for over 30 years.
Wow, 30 years.
I know, it's incredible, and they've seen amazing results, like improvements in patient care.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, better employee retention.
Wow.
And just overall better organizational efficiency. And the key to their success has been consistently applying those PM principles.
Right.
And adapting their system as needed over time.
So that's really showing a commitment to the system.
Yeah, they've stuck with it, and it's paid off.
Okay, so reason number 2, sustainable results. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
Give me reason number 3.
All right, so reason number 3 is a big one, especially for folks who maybe are feeling a little intimidated by all this talk of management and systems.
Yeah, I can see that.
But here's the good news. You don't need a formal psychology degree to understand and use performance management.
Wait, really? But you were telling me earlier about how it's all based on behavior science.
Yeah, it is.
So I would think you'd need like a deep understanding of psychology to make it work.
It is based on behavioral science, but performance management is really all about practical application.
Okay.
So it takes those complex behavioral principles
Right.
and puts them into clear, actionable strategies that anyone can learn.
So you don't have to be like B.F. Skinner
No, you don't have to be a behavioral scientist.
to actually create a positive and productive work environment.
Performance management gives you the tools to do just that no matter what your background is.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better.
Good, I'm glad.
What's reason number 4?
All right, reason number 4 is that performance management works for all types of jobs and organizations.
Really? So it doesn't matter if you're a small team or a huge corporation, or if you're working on like really routine tasks, or you're doing something super creative.
Nope, it doesn't matter.
It can still apply.
Performance management can be adapted to fit any situation.
So it's kind of like a universal language for improving performance.
Yeah, you could say that.
I like that.
The principles say the same,
Huh?
but you can adjust the specific strategies and techniques.
To fit whatever it is that you're doing.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very flexible.
It's a framework that you can customize.
Exactly.
Okay, what's reason number 5?
Okay. Reason number 5 is one of my personal favorites. Performance management can actually make work more enjoyable.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that management can actually make work fun?
I am, and I know it sounds a little counterintuitive.
It does.
Right. But when you focus on things like positive reinforcement,
Okay.
when you link having fun to actually accomplishing things,
Yeah.
when you celebrate successes,
Uh,
it really helps create a more positive and more engaging work environment.
okay, that definitely sounds a lot more fun than like the traditional idea of what management is.
It is.
Okay, I like this reason a lot.
It's a good one.
Yeah, what's reason number 6?
All right, so reason number 6 is that performance management really emphasizes improving relationships.
Okay.
And this isn't just about getting along with your coworkers. This is about taking those performance management principles and using them in all your interactions.
Okay.
So with your colleagues, with clients, with families, even in your personal life.
So it's kind of like taking these principles beyond just the workplace.
Exactly. It's about building those stronger, more positive relationships all around.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on the final reason number 7.
All right. Reason number 7 is that performance management is an open system.
What does that mean?
So it means there's no hidden agendas or manipulative tricks going on.
Okay.
It's all about being transparent,
Uh-huh.
open communication, using positive reinforcement
Right.
to motivate people and encourage those behaviors that we want to see.
Okay, that makes sense. Especially in a field like ABA, where we're working with such vulnerable individuals.
Right.
We really want to build trust with our clients and with our colleagues.
Absolutely. And when everybody understands the principles of PM and how they're being applied, they're much more likely to be engaged and committed to the whole process.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
It creates a sense of shared responsibility and continuous improvement.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I am officially convinced. Performance management sounds like a really powerful tool for any ABA professional who wants to have a more positive, productive, and enjoyable work experience.
It is.
But I'm guessing our listeners are probably wondering, like, okay, how did all of this come about?
Right.
Where did performance management even come from?
Yeah, how do we go from pigeons pecking at levers to managing human behavior in the workplace?
Right, exactly. So to answer that question, we need to take a little trip back in time.
We do.
And explore the fascinating history of performance management and its roots in behavior analysis.
Buckle up.
I'm ready.
Let's go. So to really understand where performance management comes from, where it all started, we need to kind of rewind the clock a little bit and look at the world of behaviorism.
Back to school.
Yeah.
But seriously, like, when I think about behaviorism, I think of those classic experiments with rats in mazes or pigeons pecking levers.
Right.
How does that connect to something as complicated as human behavior in the workplace?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Because those early experiments were really focused on understanding like the fundamental principles of how behavior works. And guess what? Those principles, they apply to us humans just as much as they do to those pigeons.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more.
Okay, so one of the giants in the world of behaviorism is B.F. Skinner.
Skinner, yeah.
You've probably heard of him?
Yeah.
He's the guy who developed the concept of operant conditioning.
Yes, Skinner. I remember studying him in my intro to psych class.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, I never really made the connection between his work and the kind of stuff we do in ABA.
Yeah, I get it.
Let alone, performance management. It just seems like kind of a stretch.
Yeah, it might seem that way at first.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Skinner's work, it wasn't just about training animals.
Okay.
It was about understanding how behavior is shaped by the consequences that follow it. So he showed that if a behavior is followed by something positive, it's more likely to happen again. And if a behavior is followed by something negative, it's less likely to be repeated.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like that classic reward and punishment idea.
Exactly.
But how does that play out in like a real workplace setting?
Okay, so let me give you an example.
Okay.
Imagine you're working on a team, and you've got one team member who's consistently going above and beyond.
Okay.
They're always willing to help others. They're really good at problem solving. They're just a real star performer.
Right.
Now, let's say their manager notices this awesome behavior, and they decide to give that team member a shout-out.
Okay.
In the next team meeting, praising their contributions.
Okay, so that's the positive reinforcement.
Exactly.
The employee gets recognized for their great work.
Yeah.
Makes them feel good.
Yeah.
And it increases the chances that they'll keep doing those awesome things.
Exactly. And that's just one tiny example of how you can apply operant conditioning principles in the workplace.
Right.
Performance management takes these basic principles and uses them to build systems and strategies for improving performance all across the board.
So it's not just about handing out compliments or bonuses.
No.
It's about creating an environment that actually encourages and supports those behaviors that we want to see.
Right. It's about using reinforcement to shape behavior in a way that benefits everyone.
Okay. I'm starting to see how those experiments with pigeons actually laid the foundation for a whole field of management.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it, right?
It is.
From those simple experiments to like all these complex systems that we use in organizations today.
Now, you mentioned some key principles of operant conditioning.
Yeah.
And there are a couple that I'm thinking of that are particularly relevant to performance management.
Okay.
Shaping and chaining. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Oh, yeah. Those are great examples.
Yeah.
So shaping and chaining, they're both super useful techniques,
Yeah.
and they come straight from the world of operant conditioning.
Uh-huh.
Shaping is all about reinforcing successive approximations of the behavior that you want to see.
Okay. Break that down for me. What does that mean in like real world terms?
Okay. So let's say you're trying to teach an employee a brand new skill.
Right.
You're not going to expect them to get it perfect right away.
Right. Of course not.
Right. So instead, you break down that skill into smaller steps.
Right.
And you reinforce them each step of the way as they get closer and closer to the final goal.
So it's like you're building a staircase one step at a time.
Exactly. And this can be so effective for teaching those complex skills or even for changing behaviors that have been around for a long time.
Uh-huh. What about chaining? How does that work?
So chaining, it's kind of similar to shaping, but it's more about linking together a bunch of behaviors in a specific order.
So it's like creating a chain reaction of positive behaviors.
Yes, exactly. A classic example of chaining is like teaching a kid how to tie their shoes.
Okay.
You break the whole process down into teeny tiny steps.
Right.
You teach them to do one step at a time,
Mm.
and then you help them link those steps together until they can do the whole thing on their own.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how that could be applied to the workplace too. Like if you have a really complex task, you could use chaining to break it down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly.
And then you could train your employees to complete the whole sequence.
And this can be really helpful when you have a task that involves a lot of people or different departments.
Right.
You can use chaining to create like a really smooth workflow and make sure that everyone's on the same page.
I'm really starting to see the power of these behaviorism principles.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I'm also a little bit skeptical.
Oh, really? What makes you skeptical?
Well, I'm all about being positive and supportive
Yeah.
and creating a good work environment.
Yeah.
But sometimes I worry that when we focus too much on managing behavior,
Uh-huh.
it starts to feel a little bit manipulative, you know,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
like we're treating people like robots or something.
Yeah, that's a valid concern for sure.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that performance management, it's not about manipulating people
Right.
or treating them like machines.
Yeah.
It's about building a framework for communication, feedback, and support.
Right.
It's about helping people understand what's expected of them,
Uh-huh.
giving them the tools they need to succeed,
Yeah.
and then recognizing and rewarding their effort.
So it's more about empowering people than controlling them.
And it's also really important to remember that performance management is a collaborative process.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
It's not about the manager just dictating terms to the employees.
Okay.
It's about working together as a team,
Uh-huh.
setting goals,
Yeah.
tracking progress,
Right.
making adjustments along the way.
So it's a two-way street,
Exactly.
not just a one-way command.
Right. And another thing to keep in mind
Okay.
is that performance management, it's not a magic bullet.
Right. Of course not.
It's not going to solve every problem overnight.
Ah.
It takes time and effort and consistency to implement it effectively.
Yeah, it's a process, not a quick fix.
Right. And it's a process that needs ongoing observation,
Mm-hmm.
analysis,
Right.
and adjustments.
So you're always learning, you're always evolving.
Exactly. Now, I know this all sounds really promising.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, have you heard any criticisms or pushback against performance management?
Yeah, I have heard some people say that performance management, because it focuses so much on just observable behaviors,
Right.
that it kind of ignores all the other stuff that goes on in our heads, our thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, that's a common criticism, and it's understandable.
Right.
People feel like there's more to us than just what you can see on the surface.
Absolutely.
But I think it's important to clarify that performance management doesn't deny the existence of thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
It just recognizes that those are internal events.
Right.
They're hard to measure, and they're hard to influence directly.
So instead, you focus on what you can observe.
Exactly. We focus on the behaviors
Okay.
because those are the things that we can see and measure.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know that those behaviors are influenced by a whole mix of internal and external factors.
So it's not about ignoring emotions.
No.
It's about focusing on what we can actually change.
Exactly. And remember, performance management, it's all about continuous improvement.
Right.
It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
It's a dynamic process
Yeah.
that needs constant observation, analysis, and adjustment.
Okay, well, this has been really helpful.
I'm glad.
I'm feeling a lot more confident about performance management and how it can be used to create positive change in the workplace.
Good.
But I know our listeners are eager to hear more about how all of this applies to their work as ABA professionals.
Yeah. Let's get to the good stuff.
I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah, me too. So I think it's really important for us to remember, as ABA professionals, we already know a lot about behavior change.
Yeah, that's true.
We use these principles every day with our clients.
Yeah, we do.
But sometimes it feels like we get so focused on helping our clients reach their goals that we forget to apply those same principles to ourselves and to our own work.
Yeah, I've definitely been guilty of that.
Right. It's easy to do.
Yeah, so how can we use performance management to change that?
Well, that's where PM can be so helpful.
Yeah, okay.
It's about taking all of that knowledge and all those evidence-based strategies that we're already using with our clients
Right.
and using them to create workplaces that are more supportive,
Okay.
more effective, and just more enjoyable for ourselves and our colleagues.
Okay. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. Like, how do we actually do this?
Okay.
How do we do performance management in the world of ABA?
So a really good place to start
Okay.
is with goal setting.
Okay.
We set clear, measurable goals for our clients all the time.
We can do the same thing for ourselves and for our teams.
So instead of just like generally saying, I want to improve client outcomes,
Right.
we'd set a specific measurable goal. Like, I want to increase the number of independent manding responses by 20%
Exactly.
over the next month.
Yeah, and by setting those clear goals, it's like you're creating a roadmap
Okay.
for how you're going to get where you want to go.
That makes sense.
And it gives you a way to track your progress objectively.
Okay. But setting goals is just the first step, right?
Right.
How do we actually make sure that we achieve those goals?
Well, that's where feedback comes in.
Okay.
We provide feedback to our clients all the time to help them learn and grow.
Right.
We need to do the same thing in the workplace.
Okay.
Create systems for giving and receiving feedback.
And it's not just about pointing out what people are doing wrong.
Right.
It's about recognizing and reinforcing the positive stuff, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's say you're a BCBA supervising a team of RBTs.
And how could you use feedback effectively to help them improve their skills?
Well, I guess, first of all, you'd want to make feedback a regular part of the supervisory process.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't want to wait for, like, the formal performance review
Right.
to give people feedback.
Then be giving feedback all the time in the moment.
Okay.
Both the positive and the constructive stuff. And when you do give feedback, make sure it's specific
Okay.
and objective and focus on those behaviors, not personality traits.
Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. So instead of just saying something general like, good job today,
Mm-hmm.
you could say, I really appreciate how you use prompting so effectively during that DTT session with your client.
Okay.
Your prompts were perfect and your client responded so well.
Okay. Yeah, that's way more helpful than just good job.
It is, right? And by focusing on specific behaviors, you're giving your team clear guidance
Okay.
on what they're doing well and how they can keep getting better.
Okay, I'm getting the hang of this.
Got it.
Goal-setting feedback. It's all about taking those core ABA principles
Yes,
and applying them to how we do our work.
exactly.
But are there any challenges that ABA professionals might run into when they're trying to implement performance management?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is just finding the time and the resources to do it right.
Yeah.
We are busy people.
Or are you busy?
We've got demanding caseloads. Often we have very little administrative support.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
It's hard to add one more thing to our plates.
So how do we make it work?
Well, the good news is performance management. It doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing.
Okay.
You can start small.
Okay.
Pick one or two key areas to focus on,
Okay.
like maybe improving communication within your team
Okay.
or setting clearer expectations for performance.
So start small and build from there.
Exactly. And remember, it's all about continuous improvement.
Right.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Okay, that makes me feel better. But what about dealing with those challenging behaviors that come up in the workplace?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, we see that a lot as ABA professionals,
We do.
whether it's from our clients,
Yeah,
our colleagues, or even our supervisors.
it happens.
How can performance management help us with that?
That is a great question. And that's where I think our expertise in behavior analysis really shines.
Okay.
So first of all, remember challenging behaviors. They're often a form of communication.
So instead of just trying to make the behavior stop,
Right.
we need to figure out what's causing it.
Exactly. We need to figure out what the function of that behavior is.
Okay.
What are the things that are happening before the behavior?
Go.
What are the consequences that are keeping that behavior going? Once we know what's going on,
Yeah.
we can start to come up with strategies to prevent it
Okay.
and to reinforce those more positive behaviors.
So like if a colleague is always late to team meetings,
Yeah.
instead of getting frustrated, I could try to understand why they're late.
Right.
And maybe they're overwhelmed with their caseload, or maybe they're having trouble with childcare.
Right. And then you can work with them to come up with a solution.
And then I could also reinforce that behavior of being on time
Yes.
by acknowledging it when they are on time.
Exactly.
And just letting them know that I appreciate that they're respecting everyone's time.
Yeah. It's all about that positive reinforcement.
This is really making a lot of sense to me.
Right.
It's about using our ABA skills to create a better work environment,
Yes.
even when things are tough.
And just like we individualize treatment plans for our clients,
Right.
we need to individualize our approach to PM.
Okay.
What works for one team or one person might not work for another.
So be flexible, be adaptable, and keep learning and growing.
Exactly. And that's what's so great about performance management. It's always evolving, and it helps us create positive change, not just for our clients,
Yeah.
but for ourselves and our workplaces as well.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive into performance management.
I'm
I'm feeling really inspired, and I feel like I have the tools now to start applying these principles to my own work in ABA.
awesome. I hope so.
Yeah, and for all of our listeners out there, if you're interested in learning more about performance management,
Yeah.
be sure to check out the ABA Chapter Chat website.
Good idea.
We've got tons of resources there.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep making a difference in the world of ABA.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.